that. See if we get one of the new par threes. Come on, new par three. Yes. Not sure which one this is, but another one. I'm thinking from the, just kind of on the preview, there's our long iron. So we've got a 3-power ball, and that puts us long iron. So we're wood right here. We've got a little bit of a tailwind, so let's give myself enough room to be able to adjust it out. Two rings. And really that should have been a ring and a first time on that hole and I get a hole in one. And think about that shot. So that right there is a very important. I did a 2-ring pull, which was a max ring adjustment, and I'm at minimum club. So I should have done right there somewhere in the 1.5 per ring, and that would have been a ring and a third. So we either need to do a wind adjustment there because we need to add wind on, or we do a max adjustment from minimum club. But that was a pretty big wind adjustment if we do the math. So that would have been like a 50% wind adjustment. If I would have went ahead and did the 1 1/3 rings, I would have had to do a 50% wind adjustment to get me to 2. All right, let's go take a look at what happened here. So on this particular hole, I brought a Titan. That's what I got here from the previous hole, and I used a sniper. And sniper, if I can spell today. So my red line with the Titan was right in this area. So if you so we're wood on this side and we're long iron on this side. And I did have enough room here to, this is the very first time I was ever on this hole. So I'm at minimum club, taking it with my sniper, versus if I brought a lower power ball. First, let's talk about red line and balls. So if I brought a Marlin, my red line's going to be somewhere back in this area. So we got a 3-power ball. Somewhere out here is going to be a 2-power ball. Somewhere out here is going to be a 1-power ball. And then we're going to be looking at Marlin somewhere back in this area. So it does look like no matter what, we're probably going to be taking this with a wood. Now I could have stretched my long iron out. So if you're going to bring a bigger ball, you're going to do what I did here and you want to use your long iron. This is definitely going to be a long iron that's going to take some topspin. And so in that case, I'd want to have the long iron that's got the absolute best ball guide. Grizzly, if you've got a Grizzly, especially if it's upper developed, it's super accurate, got some ball guide. But it does look like we're going to take a wood. So here's my minimum with my wood. So if I brought a 2-power ball, I'm going to be maybe more towards mid. If I bring a 1-power ball, I'm definitely going to be mid, maybe in between mid and max. If I bring a 1-power ball, my max red line is going to be up in this area right here. So it'd be a max shot. Now here's the interesting thing on this is I took my wood with my red line here and I'm right in this area. So my sniper hits 1 per ring. It's a 100% accurate club. That's at max. So if it's at mid or if it's at minimum, that number is going to change. So depending on either whether you work your numbers by paper or if you're using Golf Clash Notebook or or the Caddy program or one of those programs that does your numbers for you, this number is going to change, and also ball is going to make a difference there as well. So typically, I work off of paper, off of the old numbers. I don't use one of the apps to tell me what my numbers are. I've played enough with my clubs that on some of my clubs, I'm not as successful using the numbers there. It's not that and I know lots of people that use those apps and are successful. So it's just whatever you feel the most comfortable with, because you have to feel comfortable with those wind adjustment numbers. Otherwise, they're not going to work. Normally in this situation, I would play my mid number with a sniper somewhere in the 1.2 to 1.3 per ring. And I would play my max number somewhere in the 1.4 to 1.5 per ring, more towards the 1.5, more towards the 1.3. So those are typically my numbers. I play at mid club, my sniper is about 50% more accurate than it is when it's at max club. And then when I play that, then sometimes, depending on elevation. So if the tee box is here and the green's up here, then you're going to take wind off. If the tee box, if the green's down here, you're going to add wind on if it's downhill. And then you can make that adjustment from there. But I took a max number at minimum club. So the wind there was about 2 rings, 2 miles per hour. So I did my full 2 ring pull, even though I was at minimum club, and got it to go into the hole. So there's definitely something going on there as far as elevation, because if you think about it, if we take the 2 miles per hour of wind, and if I did a 1.5, that would have been a ring and a third, not 2. So that's a 50% wind adjustment that I made. So if the wind would have been 3, a 50% wind adjustment, 3 times 5 is 1.5. I would have did 4.5 if I used the one. So there is definitely an adjustment we need to make here. So what's going to happen is that your clubs are going to be different than mine, and mine are going to be different than somebody else's. And so this is where you're going to have to dial this in. So when you take this shot, if you hit it perfect and you're off to the right, and you come back and you hit it perfect and you're off to the right, you have to make a change, or you're going to continue to be off to the right. So I'm going to start off on this hole using, it's one of those deals. I'm going to start off using the max number and see what happens, because that's a built-in wind adjustment. Now I did catch this hole again, and I had the same ball and I had the same club, and I hit a perfect shot, and I ended up off on the wind was blowing in this direction, and I ended off to the left. So I actually over pulled it by doing the 1 per ring. So it may be better to pick one of these numbers and then find a wind adjustment. And it doesn't matter. Pick a number and then hit that. And then if you're off, you can if you're off to the right and the wind was blowing this way, then you didn't take off enough wind. If it's off to the left, then you took off too much wind, and you can start to dial that in. But as far as clubs on this hole, it looks to me like our best shot is with a wood. And I am usually pretty big on trying to hit more towards a red line, either trying to get a max red line or trying to get a minimum red line, or dead center in the middle. But usually this one's a little more problematic to be dead center in the middle. So if I can be where I'm at minimum club, or I can be where I'm at maximum club, the number, once you pick this wind number, it's a little more stable. So if you want to hit towards your max, you can bring out a small ball, probably a marlin, maybe a nav. And we'll have to play around with that as the week goes on. I'm sure I'll hit this hole with one of the lower level balls, so I can kind of get an idea of where my red line is, where we can achieve the same kind of shot that I had right there, but be, if you bring a 1 power ball, are you at max club now? But there is definitely some red lines, but this hole right here, hole number 3, definitely looks like it's going to be a wood shot if you're taking this lower level, and there is going to be some kind of a wind adjustment. All right, that was hole number 3 of Grunberg slopes. Thanks for watching.